Hello, in this video I'll talk about a bunch of miscellaneous topics that doesn't really fit well anywhere else. So I'll go over the action bar. The action bar is basically a title bar that you see over here, but it's actually a very complicated control. And I'll just go over the basic functionalities of the action bar. So I'll go over how to use the action bar as basically what's equivalent to a Windows toolbar, where you have icons in this title bar, and you click on it and handle the events for clicking on those icons. And I'll also go over how to use the action bar to navigate to any particular page. So basically, you designate a page as your home page, and you click your action bar button. You click this button here, and it goes to that home page. Okay, and I'll go over resources just briefly. The string is the most important resource, and I'll have some other resource examples. The concept that I want to present here is that Android lets you have multiple versions of the same resource, of the same thing, and then the operating system will pick like which version to use based on your environmental settings. So I'll use the string and icons and layout as an example to illustrate that concept, but it actually applies to all the Android resources, that you have multiple versions of the same thing and the OS will pick one on your behalf. Then I'll go over styles. In the rest of the video presentation, I don't use styles because I try to make the examples as simplified as possible. So I don't use any styles, but actually styles are very important. They give your application a uniform look, like you can have like a certain color applied to all your buttons. And this code is just all in one place, so you don't have to go to each button and set the text color, for example, or more commonly the text size, because by default the text size might be too small. And the styles also let you cut down on the amount of XML, because you no longer have to set a text size for each button. You just set it in a style somewhere else. And the last topic in this video is the compatibility. I'll go over how to skip code using the build.version.sdk int constant. This lets you skip over code that's not supported by the version of Android that the user is running. So right now I'll go over the action bar. So the action bar is really just this title bar, and there's a section on the API guides. So search for action bar guides. Yeah. As you can see, this is the basic Android application that's generated by the wizard. I didn't do anything to it. It's just the basic files. So the action bar is actually already included in this default, but it's not fully activated. You see part of it. You see the title bar. Okay. So the first topic is I'll talk about how to hide the action bar via the action bar hide function, because that basically gives you a little bit of extra screen space. If you don't use this bar at all, you can hide it. And this is actually the first topic in the guide too. Oh, this guide basically shows basically all of the action bar's features. So action bar has a lot of features, and I'll just go over the very basic stuff in this video. So you can see action bar is sort of like a toolbar. You have icons here, and you can click on those icons. So icons here, click on icons. Scroll down. So action bar can have like it can run on 2 lines, or actually 3 lines. So here you can see the action bar acting as a tab. So some tabs here and the buttons here. So this is one version. This is another version where the buttons are on top. And this is another version where the title bar is gone and buttons on bottom. So these are all advanced features I won't be covering in this video, but just to run through this long document, show you that ActionBar is a very complicated control. Here's putting some kind of widget inside of an ActionBar called Action View. And go down. I think they have tabs next, right? Oh no, this is like a drop-down menu. We click on a button, this thing pops up. It's equivalent to a menu item from Windows. Go down. So ActionBar supports tabs. So if you have a wide screen, like a tablet or your phone in the landscape mode, the tabs are on the same line. If your phone is in the portrait mode, the tabs are on a different line. And here's some more. Put a spinner inside ActionBar here. So lots and lots of features, and I'll just go over very basics because it's huge. Okay, so an ActionBar basically is a combination. It doesn't have a single Windows equivalent. It's sort of like the title bar. It's got the title. It's sort of like the toolbar. It's got these icons. It's sort of like the menu bar. It's got this extended menu here, and you also have a drop-down menu option. Down there, you can embed a widget inside. It's kind of like the Windows tab control because it supports tabs. So it's a really complicated control. Okay, and so the first thing is hiding the ActionBar. I think it's in this. I'll just look for hide. Okay, removing the ActionBar. You can hide ActionBar by calling hide. Just do this. Go back. Yeah, so ActionBar hide, you can find it there. Also mentions hide. Now they'll say that in this guide they're using the support library. In my example, I'll be using the non-support library too. It's like a parallel library. So I'll just use get ActionBar. Okay, so when you use get ActionBar, the API level has to be at least 11. So, okay, so now the error's gone away. What they're doing in the guide, though, they're using the support library, so they can run. They can support older Android versions. So that's the difference. I don't intend on supporting old Android versions. I don't think it's that important. So I'll use the basically on all my tutorial videos, I don't use the support library. But I guess in real life, a lot of people use that because they can support more Android versions. The support library and the primary library they're like two parallel libraries. The functions are really similar, but they're not identical. Like right now, this is get support ActionBar. This is for the support library. But in the finalized library, it's just get ActionBar. Okay. So I'll just run this on my phone. Okay, so as you can see, the title bar is gone now because of this. You can add icons to the action bar. So that's also the next topic in the guide. There's this menu under resource menu. So it's already there. The wizard that created this application already stuffed something there. Notice they have a show as action never, so this thing actually never shows up currently. So that's why there's only you don't see anything here. So I'll just copy this. Each item would be like an icon in the menu. Now notice some problem with the lines of code I just copied in. Okay, so first of all, they're using drawable, and there's no IC action search there. Basically, they're using an icon. They're putting an icon in one of these folders. So to use that code, you have to put an icon there. So for this presentation, I'll just be using a system icon. A system icon is something that's stored along with the along with the Android operating system. So on your hard drive, you can find the system icons at this location, your Android SDK home /platform /Android API levels. The data /res resource folder has the system icons that are available to you. So I'll just stuff it in here. Oh, if you use an icon like they do in this code, they're using I guess their own icon. What you see here is what the user will get. But if you use a system icon, this icon might be a little different on the user's phone, or it might change in the future because you're loading an icon from the Android operating system rather than putting a specific icon in here. Okay. So at Android drawable, that's how to get icon. At Android drawable like that, like this. And so a lot of icon choices, but some of them are for the menu. Basically the IC underscore menu icons, those are meant for the menu. So there's icons you can use. So let's say a camera icon, for example. This I guess should be action camera then. You can give your icon a string, camera, I guess. Now this show as action is important because without show as action, it actually doesn't get shown. Like that, you know. So I'll set the show as action. So some choices you have, if there's room. So if there's no room, right? If there's no room, it shows up as a ... over here. See if I can get a screen of that. Yeah, so if there's no room, the icon gets stuffed in this thing. So you click on this ... and then like an overflow menu shows up. So that's what the if room does. And another common attribute is text. I didn't show it here. But you basically just, use show as action because that's what they stuff in here as a default. So you can OR it with other options. So with text, that means the camera text will be shown as well. Now in the code, I have hidden the bar, so I have to get rid of this. Okay. It actually gets, the menu bar actually gets inflated here. So now I'm running the application, so there's no code, all this is just the default code. I removed the code that hides the action bar, and I added just that icon to the menu file at main.xml. So you see the icon here. If I turn it, like rotate it, you see the icon plus the word, because there's sufficient room for that. You don't see it here though. So the next thing is how to handle clicking on that icon. So you handle event handling by using the on options item selected, and that's a member of activity. Removing action bar. So they have this too. If room with text, that's what I just did. So this part, this is event handling. So on options items selected. Oh, there's a warning. Oh, so I got rid of it. Huh? On options items selected. So options item. So this is the item that got clicked on, so you know which one by using the ID function, or actually the item ID. That's what they call it. Well, actually, if you type in ID, you should find it, right? ID. So it's group ID and items ID. Okay. And the default is to return this one. The camera icon that I just added has this ID, action camera. So I'm just following the convention where all the menu IDs have this action underscore prefix. So this one, action camera. I'll just display a message, I guess. Camera icon clicked. I'm trying to drag this. Okay. So I'll run it. Messed up as usual. So I click the camera icon, so you see the camera icon clicked box down here. So that's how you handle events, click events on the icon. This part I think is also the next topic in the guide. Oh no, split action bar. So this split action bar thing is like different styles, but I'll skip over it. And I'll just stick to the basics. So this part is the last part I'll cover. Navigating up from the action icon. So now I'll talk about what this concept is, what's navigating up. They kind of talk about it here, but basically I'll draw a picture. This is different from the back button. The back button will take you to the previous screen. So if you access your activities like this, from screen A to B, C, D, E, pressing the back button when you're on D will give you back to C, for example. Or if you're on E, the back button will take you back to D. The back button takes you back to the previous screen. That's chronologically. The intention here is that clicking on this icon brings you to the home screen. So usually there's some kind of hierarchy like this. So clicking on the icon bring you back to A. No matter which of these screens you're on, clicking the icon brings you back to A. That's the concept. It's basically like a shortcut jump to a certain home screen that you designate. And you get to decide which activity to jump to. That's the point of this. Whereas the back button, the Android operating system will decide for you where to go. So supporting this behavior, the navigate to home behavior, I call it navigate to home. They call it navigating up. Basically navigating, when you're on this level of screens, navigate up to the higher level of screens. They call it navigating up. So implementing this behavior is quite different for different versions of Android. Starting with Android 4.1 is really easy. You just set that one attribute. I'll do it that way. And I'll demonstrate on my tablet. My phone is Android 4.0, so this actually won't work on my phone. So I'll have to switch to tablet after this. So they're talking about the manifest file. It's over here. Okay. Android parent activity under activity tag. The activity tag is something in the manifest file. So for this to work, of course, you have to have two activities, right? So right now I have one activity. So I'll add a new activity. I'll add a button, and clicking on this button, I'll start up a new activity. Button. Okay, so you can right click here and select new, but it's actually off the screen capture area. So the other way is this new, other. So Android activity. Been through this before, actually. Trial activity. Going up here. And just to know that this is a trial activity, I'm going to put down a message here. This is the trial activity. So here I'll get a reference to that button that I just made. Lost it. This button. So add the event handler like this. To start a new activity is actually covered in a previous video. Just go back there. The slide. You create the intent and you call start activity. So there's a couple of versions. It's usually this one, the context and the class ID, the class information, the data information. So context is this. Class information is the child activity.class. So dot class. Start activity, use this one. Oh, this is not right. This actually points to the object created here. So it should be main activity dot this. Okay. So I'll run it now. So clicking on the buttons to start a new activity all the time. So this is child activity. Back button goes back. So I guess in this case, the back button is going to do the same thing as my navigate to home, because I only have A and B in this case. But the point of navigate to home is that, you know, B, C, D, E all go back to screen A when you click on that icon. Okay, so that was on the phone. Okay. Oh. So as I mentioned, on Android 4.1 Plus, I'll switch to tablet in a moment. On Android 4.1 Plus, I just add this XML attribute here. So the activity tag is in the manifest file. So this is the main activity here. So when I added the child activity, the widget put this in for me. So I just have to add that. This is activity tag that I'm referring to in this slide. So just add this parent activity name attribute. So for this activity, for child activity, the parent activity is going to be this one. Okay, it's going to be this one. I was hoping it would show up, but oh well. So here, this one. You also have to enable this behavior. So and they tell you in the guide too. So they get the action bar, well, they're using support action bar, and they're using this set display home as up enabled. That lets you click on the button. That lets you click on this icon and then, you know, go to the activity that's specified in the manifest file. Boy, too many files, huh? Get rid of this. So this is manifest file. Put it here. So to actually enable this activity, you have to have a code here. I'll be using the official action bar instead of the support library action bar. So I changed that one line because of that. Actually, I should add this to the slide. Okay, I do that. Yeah, so for Android 4.1 Plus, you do this. You enable that feature via this function of the action bar, and then you set that attribute under the activity tag. Okay, and this only works on Android 4.1, so I'll switch out to the tablet right now. So I swapped the phone out for a tablet. Now I'll run it. Just tap on the button to start a child activity. Now if I tap on this icon in the upper left, it's going to go back to the main activity. So that's basically how it works. But this is for Android 4.1 Plus. Okay. So before Android 4.1, pre-Android 4.1. Okay, before Android 4.1, this attribute isn't needed, so I'll just remove it right now. So now I'll go back to my phone. So it's me going back to the phone. So instead of this, you use a different tag, but it's the same place. It's in the manifest file under the activity tag. So use a meta tag, and you have this name value, name equals this. They also tell you how to do it in the guide. But they kept this, but this doesn't do anything because it's pre-Android 4.1. You actually don't need this. Okay. Just like how I'm gonna get rid of that. Don't need that line anymore, but you're using meta tags instead. Okay, metadata. So the name is this. Now notice the support here. This is something from the support library. Even though my action bar is not the non-support version, my action bar is not get support action bar. This is the final action bar. But this is a different issue. This is like a navigation issue. Basically, this to do the navigation, this approach, this pre-Android 4.1 approach, this approach is using the nav utils object, and this nav utils is from the support library, and that's why this thing is support. So it's not Android.parent activity, it's Android.support parent activity because nav utils is something from the support library. Okay, so just copy it here, I guess. But change a couple things. Whatever that makes sense for me, right? So metadata tag, this is the same thing, but this thing is different for me. So I'm using this. Right, just okay. So that's one step. I'm replacing the this with this, the metadata. The other thing is you actually have to handle that event. So this is the event handler, for clicking on those icons. So options item, child activity, options item. So options item. So similar code to before, you get the ID. This is the item you clicked on. You get the ID. You get ID. ID. So it's the item ID. And the default will return this. Now in the previous example, in the camera icon example, I assigned the ID called action camera. In this case, the ID is I guess it's predefined by the Android system. It's android.r.id.home. So the previous code is r.id. So this time, in the child activity, to handle this, to handle clicking on the icon, so it's android.r, which doesn't show up here. Oh, it doesn't show up in that list. Gotta be sure it doesn't show up. Okay, so there's no .r, but it's there. Okay, there. Okay, .id .home. So when the user click on that button, okay, oh. So when user clicks on this icon here, the code is gonna get over here. It's gonna match this ID. And this is where I use the nav-util thing. Navigate up from same task. Okay. So navigate up from same task is this. It's taking up the activity, the source activity, which is the child activity in this case. So let me look up the navigate up from same task. Up from. Navigate up from same task, see if so if you search for the navigate up from same task, you get to nav-util. Nav-util is something from the support library over here. So this is what it's doing. Navigate up from same task is the same as navigate up to. So the source activity is the child activity. So I use the this pointer to get to it, and it's using get parent activity intent. And that parent activity thing is defined via the metadata tag. The parent activity. This is so this is how this whole thing works. They're getting the parent activity from this this mechanism here, metadata mechanism. Tells them what parent activity to go to, and that's what this navigate up from same task does. Okay, so I think this is okay. I think I can run it now. Oh, gosh. So this starts up the child activity. So click on this icon should bring me back to the main activity, just like that. So that's it for my presentation of the action bar. There's a lot more. I'm just barely like 1/3 of the way through. Well, maybe halfway through. The important half, right? The important 1/3. Yeah, it goes on and on and on. But just some comment. This is a complex control, and a lot of these, because it's not specialized, it tends to be harder to use than the Windows equivalent. Like I'm really interested in the tab thing, but the tab thing has like a lot of code, or compared to Windows, WPF, there's a lot of Java code. Whereas in Windows, you can create whole tab using purely XML. So if you want to learn more, just go through this guide. Gone through like the first 1/3 for you already. Okay, so that's concludes the presentation for the action bar, the basics of the action bar control or system, whatever. So now I'll go over Android resources. So far in all my examples, I've been hard coding my string. So like instead of this, I would type in something like this. But the right way to do it actually is to refer to a string resource like that. I use a hard code for convenience. The string resource means that it's looking up from this string table that's here at underscore. I mean, it's located at resource values strings. So I have some strings here. So the hello world strings is the main reason to use this lookup table scheme is for localization. So I'll demonstrate that first. This is Android's localization scheme. So if I want to add another one, like say in Chinese, I would, well, I can right click and go to new, but then it's go to other, but it's outside of the screen capture area. So I'll resort to that thing again, new, and then other. It's an XML file, well, XML like values file. So create Android XML values such as strings. Use XML. It's the same thing as here. You get to pick it. Yeah, it's gonna be values. I just say strings. Now, they say the destination file already exists because there's already strings.xml here. But that's okay. That just means that you can't create another. Oh, so it's blocked out, huh? Okay, so you can't create another values, strings, because that's the same file as the existing. So what you do is you add a language. Here is you specify configuration. So here language Chinese is all the way down the bottom. GH for China. So click finish. Okay, so right now you have values and then strings. You also have values dash gh and then string. So if there's Chinese, they'll pick the strings from here if possible. Okay, I'll just copy this over from this strings file to this strings file. So that's a recurring concept in Android. You have the same resource. Okay, you have this hello world string. You have the same resource, but two versions of the resource in two different places, one here and one here. And Android will pick the version depending on environmental settings. So if the environment setting is Chinese, so they're going to pick this one. Okay, and the way to see that, I should put some Chinese here first, right? Okay, So put some Chinese there. The way you see this is zoom in a little bit here. So this icon here lets you pick the language. So other, when you pick other, it's gonna default to, it's gonna default to the values folder. That's the fallback value basically. Doesn't mean it's English or whatever language. If they don't find a matching language, this is the fallback. Switch to Chinese, you click on here and choose this one. Set Chinese. Now, to actually test out this on my phone, okay, you have to go to your language settings, language and input here. So the language and input. So language here, but not all the language will be available. Like for me, there's the only Asian language is Korean, which I don't know. So I know a little bit of Spanish. So that's took it in high school. I don't remember anything anymore. So I actually can't try this because my phone doesn't have the Chinese option. So to actually try this out on a real phone, oh wait, this is in, oh wow, hey, it's in the screen capture area now. Okay, so go, I right click, new, and then go to other. This time I should try the value file. Last time I tried this. Okay. Oh, so this one's locked. Oh, that's the only difference. So strings. So again, the strings file already exists. So that's why the warning. This time I'm gonna try Spanish because I don't have Chinese code. So Spanish is Espanol, right? So Espanol is yes. And I have to add in the string. All I know is hello. So in this is a Chinese string to a Spanish string. Okay, so that's the fallback. If nothing match, it's gonna be the English. Okay, so I can run this on my phone. So you see the string. Actually, let me make the text a little larger. Yeah, I just added this attribute to make the text a little larger. Okay. Now to test this out, be sure you remember what you click on in the settings menu, right? Settings. So that's language and input. And language. But be sure you know what you click on, right? So let me just go back. Try to remember it for myself. Okay. So language and input is for me, it's the one, just try to remember a picture, because once you switch your language, how do you find it back, right? How do you find your way back here? So try to remember pictures. It's got this A, and then it's the first one. Okay, I'm gonna switch Spanish now. Oh, I don't know anything. So press the home button so you don't have to go through the navigation again. So click on applications. So all the stuff well, not everything's in Spanish, but a lot of stuff are. So hello Android, I'll run it again. This time it's gonna be in the Spanish string. So hold down the home button, press home button, hold it down. So it's got this. So it's the windows here. So I don't have to try to find it back. I don't have to find my way back there again. So let's go to English. So I survived that one, huh? So I actually got lost once. So hard to find back. Okay, so So here's back the English string. So that's the demonstration of the Android's localization scheme. If you're using the string as a resource, you can get the string from within your code by using the getString function and then supplying the resource ID. So here, so I have just one activity. I have this main activity. I'll give it an ID. So my intention is to instead of hello world, I'm going to change this string in code. I'll put my name into the string, I guess. Right, plus ID, right? So I retrieve the text by using the getString function. This getString, take the resource ID, all.string.hello world. So I'm just adding from Louis to hello world. Okay, so that's a demonstration of retrieving the string in code via getString. So when I enter in getString, there's actually a second form. Okay, so okay, that won't work, huh? But this, so there's actually two forms. There's a form that has additional arguments. So getString, it's a member of context, so activity would inherit from that. So there, I can see two forms. The other form lets you supply a formatting, what it was called, formatted string. Localized format string. Format arguments. Okay. So it's kind of like the printf function from C. This syntax format string means that you can insert arguments into it to help you build up the string. So in C language, you would say, so for example, if I want hello Louis, there are 2 new messages. Okay. To build up the string, I want this to be a variable, and I want the 2 to be a variable. So one option is to have like 3 strings, right? One string hello, second string is like there are, and third string is 2 new messages. And then I just concatenate the 3 strings in code and insert Louis and 2. Format strings let you do this in one string. So basically, in the C language would be this. Louis would be, the C printf function would do something like this. The Louis would be a %s for string, and then %d, I guess D for digit or whatever for integers. So it's really similar, except that you supply like a $sign, $1 thing for location. So $1, the first argument, second argument is $2. And Windows has a very similar system too. So you supply these, and then inside of that you when you use the getString function, you can put a variable for this and put in a variable for this 2D. Okay, so over here in the getString, still same thing, but now you supply arguments. Okay, so the Lewis is gonna end up. Let me close these extra strings. So I'll click on the wrong one. Okay. So I'm gonna retrieve this string, put Lewis into the first argument. So this thing is gonna be replaced by Lewis. And then this thing will be replaced by the second argument, which is 2. Okay. Right. Instead of relying on the other way to solve it is kind of like concatenate it like this in the code, but this approach lets you reduce the number of string resources. Okay, so I'll run this. So as you can see here, hello Lewis, there are 2 new messages. Right, so again, the Lewis comes from over here, and the 2 comes from over here. So that's my illustration of the formatted string feature. The Android resource system has a lot of options. So there's this whole section in the API guides dedicated to resources. So you just type in resources here, resource, and then guides, and there's all kinds of stuff about it. So there's a lot of things here, but string is the most common one. In all these cases, the concept is the same, that you have multiple versions of the same thing, and then the operating system will pick the right version. So another example is the icon, that Android picture in this picture in the upper left hand corner of the application. This application icon, it's actually this thing, right? So there are multiple versions of the same file, but in different folders. They have different they're different sizes. These icons are different sizes, and the Android will pick the right one. For higher density screens, it's gonna pick the bigger icon. Like this one has more pixels than say this one, and this one is basically obsolete. The lowest DPI setting is the low one's obsolete, so that's why I don't have anything in there. Okay, so that's just a really brief discussion. Icons as an example. Basically, pictures, drawables, follow this situation. The other example that's really common is layout. So far I've been using only one layout file, like this one, but you can have like multiple layout files. So I'll show you how to do that. So most common, you have one layout for the portrait mode, like here, and then you have another layout for the landscape mode. So the file here, layout, is going to be the default fallback file. That's going to be the portrait. And when you rotate the screen, they'll try to reflow these. They'll use the same layout, but they'll reflow the layout in landscape mode. But they'll be using the same layout file. You can get Android to pick a different layout file by creating another layout file, just like the string. So this one, new, it's off screen again. Other, I use this, new, other, and then layout file, yes. So I guess if you pick the kind of file, all they do is they lock out this upper row here. But it's gonna be the same name, so just be sure I get the name right. Main activity, right? You can pick XML file. It's just that here you have to pick layout. Main activity, activity main. Oh, okay. So they even have the right name for me this time around because I selected here. In the right hand side package view window. So the destination file already exists. Just like before, it's the same file. Right? I mean, if you don't get this warning, and then you're using the wrong name or something, right? You're either using the wrong name or using the wrong, So here, so using wrong resource type. So if the right resource type, the right name, the same resource type, the same name, but again, add a qualifier here. So layout direction maybe. No. So remove. So this one, orientation. Okay. So you have portrait or landscape. So your landscape. What's portrait? Portrait has -PORT. Landscape. So the default is layout without anything, right? -land makes it like the landscape version of the layout. Okay. And it's the same thing, but I'll put the same thing. Oh, it's empty. So I'll have to put something in there, right? Oh, and just for this example, I'll say this is default. I shouldn't say portrait layout. It's actually the default layout that gets applied in portrait mode because there's no portrait layout defined. And this is landscape layout. So same thing, my two layouts, have the same text view, but I put it in a different text just to differentiate the two. Okay, so this is default layout. Okay, so now I'll run it. Actually, I need to undo my previous example. I still had this stuff in there, which overrides the hard-coded string. So I'll get rid of that. So now I'll run it again. So if I rotate it, I get the other layout. It's upside down. Default layout. Landscape layout, default layout, landscape layout. Okay. So this. And one last thing I would like to point out is that you can have multiple modifiers. You're not limited to just having -land. Like you can have a layout that's Chinese and landscape. Right? I won't actually carry through this, but I guess you have to select the file here, make it easier, and then they'll have the right file name, huh? Okay. So all these modifiers, you can have multiple modifiers. So that thing I just had, landscape. So the destination file already exists, right? Because I'm using exactly the same file name, but different qualifiers. So just land. My point is that you can actually add in more qualifiers. I can add in like a new language. So if the environment is Chinese and the phone is in landscape mode, it's gonna pick this file. Okay, so let's see. Oh, put in here. So for the landscape Chinese version, put in some Chinese there. So you can kind of test it out by in this window, a little bit smaller. So this is where you pick the language. But it's portrait. So right now it's portrait. There. It's portrait, and it's Chinese. It's picking a default layout. So this is pick here. This one, landscape. Oh, got here. Huh. Jumps to here. Huh? I was expecting to go to landscape. So other landscape. Oh, it jumps there. So I guess they don't instantaneous go to the same. Yeah, so portrait goes to this layout file, activity main. And then if you pick landscape, it's going to go to this other file, land activity main. Okay. So ultimately, you still have to run it. See, all this thing does is jump, from one file to the other file. So actually, to try it out, you still have to run it on the phone. And there's a lot more to resources, but I think those are the most important basic stuff for this video. Hello, now I'll go over the basics about styles. So there's a guide in the Android API guides about styles. You just look for it here. Guides, style resource. This one is really short. Style resources. I think that's a short one. Yeah, this one's really short. The real guide is the styles and theme guide. They're both listed under API guides. So this is under API guides, and this is also under API guides. But this one, the styles and themes, that's the longer one. My presentation is only the basic stuff. So defining a style and inheritance. Okay. So here's a basic style example for a button. I just created a new project here with the, hello world. So I changed this to button. So button. So to define style, it has a name, item, that, and this goes into a file called style. Styles.xml. It goes into a file that's down here. Styles. So, oh well. I'll add it here, I guess. So, style. Yeah, style is a part resource. So that's why one of the guides about style is listed under resource type style. There's a guide, but this guide is the short one. The longer guide is listed under user interface. Okay. So style has a name. Okay, so there's no suggestion here, so okay, it should be control space here. Name, mandatory name, mandatory. Okay. What's it called? My button. And item has a name. Yeah, remember when I define these buttons? If I leave out these two, the width and the height, you know, this scale. Okay, scaled. So this thing will complain, you know, this does not have to require width and height. So rather than repeating that for every button, I could put it here. So it's only one choice here, item. So the width thing, right? So layout width. Okay. What do I have? I have layout width. So layout width, layout height. But this thing doesn't see, this thing doesn't have layout width, layout height. Oh, okay. So once I define the style, I can use it in my button. Well, actually, if you press Control Space here, everything has the Android prefix, Android colon prefix, everything except for this. So you use the add style. Remember, to refer to a string, it's add string. So to refer to a style, let me see. Okay, they're gonna suggest everything, huh? So okay, this one, and I have this one. Okay. So now it's okay because the layout width and the layout height is inside of the style, and apparently the content assist, the auto suggest doesn't have this. Okay. Oh. Next, I'll talk about inheritance. Inheritance is like to have another style that's based on this style. So the way they do it is using this notation. The style name myButton.BigRed is inheriting from the style myButton. So such that the style myButton.BigRed will have a layout width and layout height. These two attributes get inherited, even though it's not listed here. So that's the point of inheritance. Okay. So, just copy and paste this stuff, I guess. I already typed stuff in once, right? Okay. So here currently it's just like that. So if I press Control Space, I have this or this. So now the font's slightly larger, somewhat larger, and it's also in red. So that's a presentation about styles. Styles are important because it's a way to establish a uniform look across your application. Like for example, I think the text view font is too small, so I want all my text views to have a larger font, and I want that font to be same size font, so I use style to do that. Also, it cuts down on the XML because see, it's just one line here, but that's equivalent to 4 lines. It's equivalent to these 2 lines plus these 2 lines, and you multiply that for the number of controls. If you're saving off 4 to 10 lines per control, you're saving off a lot of lines. Well, not 10 lines, maybe 4 or 5 lines per control. It's pretty common. So it makes the XML a lot more readable. Okay, but in the videos I do here, I never use styles because I try to make things as simple as possible. So for one control, or 2 controls, there's no need to use styles. But I think in the real application, styles are very important. And also that's the whole guide on styles and themes. So if you want to learn more, so this is a place to read it. So basically I got up to here, inheritance. So maybe a quarter of the way through, maybe 1/3 of the way through. Ah, big red. Hey, but they're big dot red. Okay. So again, yeah, if you want to learn more, just go here. So the final topic for this this particular video is about compatibility. The primary strategy for compatibility is to use replacement components. So the problem here is that Android has a lot of versions, and some components are only available in certain versions of Android. So to maximize the compatibility, you would use a component that's as available in as many versions of Android as possible. So one of the earlier topics that I use is in this video earlier on, I have some examples showcasing the ActionBar. In that particular case, the API guide is actually using the support library version of the ActionBar. So in my video, I was using this one, the official ActionBar. So that one uses API level 11. Actually, in their own guide, Google is using the ActionBar from the support library as different namespace. V7 means that this ActionBar is available on version 7, API level 7 and above. And so that's the main, that's a primary strategy for compatibility, is to replace your ActionBar with something that runs on more versions of Android. Now there's yet another one online. It's called ActionBar Sherlock. I think I spelled wrong, or maybe Sherlock. Yeah, this one. So ActionBar Sherlock. You can, if you want to know more, you can go to search for it. Go to this webpage. This is supposedly even more flexible than the support library. So an extension of support library, designed to use across all versions of Android using single API, because the API for the support library is a little different from the official ActionBar API. So this one tries to be even more compatible across different versions of Android. So again, that's the primary strategy. You find something that works on more versions of Android, whether it's a support library or a third-party tool like the ActionBar Sherlock example. You can also achieve compatibility by skipping code. So I'll kind of demonstrate that in this example. So previously, I have an example where I hide the ActionBar. So way at the very beginning of the video, I had this example where I call ActionBar to hide. Right, so I'm using get ActionBar. I'm using get ActionBar. To get an ActionBar. Okay, so I'm getting ActionBar. Right. And then I'm calling ActionBar.hide. Now the problem with this code is that if you put a mouse over it, it requires API level 11. And currently I'm setting to our API level 8, right? And I solved that problem previously by just going to the manifest file and increasing the manifest file and just increasing the API level here, or I think I did over here. But the other way is to just skip through this code, to hide action bar. So in this approach, you try to look for the constant, the SDK constant, the build.version.sdkInt constant. So it's like this. Basically, the idea is a skip if SDK is lower than 11. So build.version.sdk. .version .sdkInt. SDK is a string, so it's probably better to use an integer. It's easier comparison, I guess. So what would I put here, right? I mean, they say 11, so do I put like 11 something, right? That might actually work, but that's not what they recommend. Okay, so just look up this SDKInt online. Well, I sure have the answer here in the slide, use the version codes, but anyways. So SDK, int is over here. The user visible SDK version of the framework. It is possible values are defined in build.version codes. Okay. So okay. So don't use like 11. Use like what the reference recommends you using build.version codes. So build.version codes like this. Oh, which one, right? There's which one of these? Oh, here's the list. So I have to go back to that thing again. Version codes. So they kind of tell you. So Eclipse is telling me this is SDK 11, API level 11, but this version code table isn't really telling me like which one's 11, right? I mean, gosh. So I guess the solution is to look up this function ActionBar, get ActionBar. I mean. So ActionBar, get ActionBar, API level 11. What's that? What's an API level? Oh, so here. API level 11 is honeycomb. So that's how you know this is honeycomb. Or maybe you should just have a little chart, right? So that's how I look it up. That's how you look it up instead of putting like 11 over here or something. Okay, so now this should work if you actually run it, because the code gets here, it's gonna look for whether the thing is 11 or not. Okay, the user visible version framework, and it should skip over this stuff here. Now, however, it's still an error. The tool, the lint tool, which is the lint lint, like over here, clear all lint markers. Yeah, lint is the tool that's analyzing this code, and it's not smart enough to figure out that I'm skipping over this stuff. Okay, so you have to suppress this particular error. So there's some options for suppress here. So you want to suppress it as locally as possible. So obviously that rules out these two options on the bottom, like suppressing at the main activity level, so suppressing it activity wide. Just suppress it locally, as local as possible. So it's better to suppress it on the create option, okay? So you can either use suppress new API to this, or use target API to this. And this one, the target API one, is more specific, because what we're doing is we're telling it this is only going to be honeycomb. Because I have code here that will skip over stuff, if it's not honeycomb or above. Okay. So the right option to use is target API honeycomb, like this, and that should do it. Okay, save. So the stuff goes away, so this thing can build and you can use it, even though the manifest API is still 8. It's manifest. Yeah, the API is still 8, but I'm using a combination of build.version.stk int combined with this suppression, error suppression mechanism to get this to build. Okay, and this kind of thing, the code skipping thing would work for like a small body of code like this. Okay, where my only intention is to really just to hide the action bar if it's possible to hide the action bar through this mechanism. Okay, so that's my little brief coverage of compatibility.